welcome to the official Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast. My name's Ian.
And my name's Nikki, bringing you the best in comics and graphic novels and updates from the festival.
Hello, welcome to the Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast. My name is Ian.
And I'm Nikki.
Notice I couldn't work out what episode number we were.
There's nothing we can look it up on, okay?
We are
84,000.
We are driving to be on location.
Is that what it is? I'm blinded again.
We are on the A65, recording as we make our way to day 2 of Thought Bubble.
Yes.
Bubble. In the evil place that is Yorkshire.
Yeah, so you were right, going over... Have we gone over the border?
We've gone over the border. Yeah. We are now in being a Lancastrian.
It's not good
hurting.
for you, is it? Yeah.
My blood is boiling.
You started to burn.
I've got my pitchfork.
Your pitchfork?
My fork, or whatever, in the boot. Pitchfork, ready to stab any Yorkshire person that should talk to me.
Do you think they're going to know that you're from Lancaster?
Well, it's Lancashire. It's not just Lancaster, dear.
Sorry,
it's Lancashire.
Lancashire.
Yeah, we're like the hobbits.
From a shire. I'm from a shire. You're from a shire. We're hobbits.
We're hobbits.
I have hairy feet, so yeah.
I definitely have hairy feet.
You do.
So before we talk about Thought Bubble, I just want to bring up a topic that, to be fair, this is going to be weeks and weeks behind when it actually happens, but Orbital Comics in London has stopped now ordering in weekly comics.
Yes.
So they've cancelled their account with Diamond UK. Now there is works around. They are working with another company that can deliver directly to store, so they are still being able to feed their customers comics, but they're doing it through this website rather than directly with them. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
It's sad, but I think that's the way everything's going, isn't it? At the minute. Mm-hmm. I think the cost for places like Orbital is exorbitant even, to get these weekly comics in. And yeah, it's a shame, but we don't have that American culture with weekly comics, do we?
But also, when we were looking at setting up...
Oh, it's horrendous, the price.
The minimum order value is just stupid.
We'd never make the money back.
And this is a problem.
To start with.
Yeah, if you've not got... I mean, I assume they have got a good customer base.
Well, yeah, they will have.
Doesn't mean they're having enough weekly income for every order they have to make.
Yeah.
So they're having to order extra comics.
Mm-hmm. And people don't turn up and pick them up, so you got all this excess comics.
Then they just end up sat there being reduced in price because they're not special editions, nobody wants them.
No, they're like number 132 out of,
So I think the system is wrong. Mm-hmm. Having that one main distributor stops fair competition, I think.
Yeah, it makes... Well, it's a monopoly then, isn't it?
It is. I mean, comics are going to be the price they are, simple as, but... The fact that they can't go to different distributors and find the best minimum order values, best delivery costs. Yeah, it really does cause the issues that's obviously going to be faced.
Yes, yeah.
And if Diamond don't change their ways,
well, you're not going to have weekly comics.
No, well, digital. Yeah, digital.
Are they basically saying, well, digital will have to be the way forward? I don't like that personally, but it saves us space, I guess. But I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to come up with something really intelligent there as well.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Which means it wasn't.
It was. Oh, I can't remember. It's early in the morning.
It is early in the morning, to be fair. We've had a McDonald's as well, which keeps us going. Keeps us going for the day.
Clogged up the arteries a bit more.
We've been a bit lucky. We've got to say thank you to the Comic Art Festival. They've funded us a little bit, so we've afforded a new laptop.
Yes.
Essentially, we were able to keep going.
Upgraded.
Because
our laptop, the battery had gone.
So it's allowed us, to keep going, because that was a concern.
Yes, so we weren't getting to the point where we were hitting it with a hammer.
Where I was taking how long to edit, because it was just going so
slow.
So thank you to them. Right, so Thought Bubble, this is our first time.
We're not there
visiting.
Yet.
This will be our first time visiting.
It will be.
Not Leeds, Harrogate.
Harrogate?
It is, I do believe Harrogate is quite posh, so...
Oh, well, fits right in. Not with that accent, love.
Posh store.
I can't do that.
So, from your impressions of Thought Bubble, you've never been.
Yes.
What do you feel it's all about?
People. It's going to be busy. It's going to be more armpits and elbows for me. I just think it's... I personally am expecting an MCM without the shop parts. Does that make sense? Just being comic peoples.
So, just a minute. Without the shop part, so these people that are selling comics are not selling comics.
You know what I mean.
They're just stood there looking at you. Do you like my comics?
Do you like it? Now
can't have
move
one.
on. No, you know what I mean. It's like it's not going to be like loads of people just selling Funko Pops and stuff.
No.
And things from China.
I think we need to point out Funko when we see a Funko Pop.
Yeah, right,
I don't think there'll be there.
But yeah, I get the more feeling that it's small press creators, and I'm looking forward to meeting everyone I know.
Yeah.
And more people I don't know.
There's a lot of people there that we definitely know.
Yeah.
People we've never met as well.
Yeah.
Such as Tom, who's on a podcast.
That's very true. We've never met him. Will we notice him? Will we know who he is?
Just listen out to that. Hi, Vinny!
I think that's racist.
Racist in the nicest way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they've got a little table selling comics. We've got a fan Tom.
Yeah.
Pete's obviously there.
Yeah.
We've never met 2/3 of the Awesome Podcast. They're there.
Yeah.
As well as many others.
Many other people.
So obviously previous to this, it was in Leeds.
I put deodorant on, so I'll give it one.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
She doesn't normally. She stinks.
No, I just snap.
Previous to this in Leeds, it was a little bit festival-like in the sense that it was multiple locations, but it was tents, I think, rather than buildings, which in Leeds is a bit bigger than Kendal. So I think we've come the right year. I think we're going to see...
We can't compare it, so to us it's all a new thing, so we haven't got anything to compare it to. So all those ones that have been to the other one, when it was all in Leeds itself, they might be going, well, it was more friendly when it was all in tents. And they might hate it, but because we have nothing to compare it to, we can't.
Well, we need to find out today, don't we?
Yes.
We need to find out.
39 miles to Harrogate.
Do they prefer the old way or the new way?
Does anyone care?
I do.
Okay.
This is road reporting.
Road reporting or rogue reporting.
Yeah. This is us getting into the nitty gritty. And it doesn't matter.
We're
because this is how it is.
Journalists now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah, we'll give our impressions on the way home. We'll do a little record, and this is like completely new. And hopefully I'll be able to buzz out
the sound of the road.
Sounds of the car.
Yeah.
Chugging away as we're going along.
It's amazing. Sound like a tractor.
Google's not spoken yet on the A65.
She hasn't.
2.7 miles before she says another word.
No.
So is there anything you're hoping to pick up today? Badges.
Oh, some stickers, because my son's just bought himself a laptop because he wants to rehash it to just play retro gaming. And he ordered it off CEX.
Sponsorship.
And he thought he was ordering a blue one, and it's come out and it's hot pink. It's beautiful. My son's 16. This is hilarious. So I want to get him some really, really girly stickers to put on it.
As long as they're not too expensive.
As long as
because I'm not wasting money on stickers.
No, he said he'll stick them on it because he's game. That's it.
This is going to come out at his wedding down the line. They said you were gay.
I didn't say gay, I said game.
Oh, I thought you said gay.
No, I didn't say
It's gay, bless him.
It's gay. I didn't say that. I don't care if he was. But no, I didn't say that. I said he's
well,
game.
I don't think he is, so that's what I'm saying. When he gets married and the missus is like, I heard this, is this a problem? Poor lad.
Oh no, because he plays these at school, the podcast. So if he's sitting there and his mates are going to go, you're gay? No, Mum said I'm gay.
So we've got a comic to pick up.
Yes.
Which one's that?
Haroo. By Joe Latham.
Yeah,
and he said he's done a little picture of it for me.
You better add off.
Oh yeah. We said
throw
it
at
him. Throw it at him. No, not throw it at him. And we've got a pin badge to pick up.
Pin badge for definite. Mm-hmm. Of the little Woody.
Yeah.
Woodman.
Yeah, the Woodman.
Woody the Woodman.
On the Hilda table, yes. Actually.
And then we'll see what else we find as we wander and search through the mass of tables.
Yeah.
Now, I think the other
got
question...
my inhaler, we'll be alright.
I'm intrigued to see how many people are there and also sales that people get. Because there's going to be a lot of people, I believe.
Well, I saw Matt Guy had sold 73 comics yesterday. I saw that, which I didn't think was a very high amount for him. Is that good?
I think so. I think that's MCM numbers.
Okay.
I think. But it's the more of the issue of there's so much competition.
Oh yeah,
you've got all these friendly creators, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to sell.
Yeah, you're trying to make. Well, you got to make your money back on the table cost and all the rest of it, and the travel, and you're staying, and then you want to make a profit on top.
I mean, I think it's been discussed before, and it repeat. It's not about making money.
about being seen.
It's about being seen, getting your products out there, getting your faces seen.
Well, I'm not there.
Getting.
I'm more like a Yeti. Can you spot it? Is she there?
I mean, it's really quite sad actually. Though. We did, we've got some big names there, which I'm looking forward to seeing. Bengal is one I'd like to see, I must admit. But we got more excited by the fact what
in
cultures.
a quarter of a mile at the roundabout, take the second exit and stay on A65.
Thank you. What cultures there? Oh, they were yesterday.
Oh yeah, I hope they're there today. If we said they're not now, they probably work in there every day.
Well, little fans.
We watch you on YouTube.
But it's places, it's making us think about what the lakes should do in regards to promotion, PR, and all that. And I think missing a beat there,
Yeah,
that we can definitely improve upon as a festival.
Yeah.
Exit the roundabout onto A65.
And I'm
Continue on
shut
A65
up.
for
She's
30
telling you where to
miles.
go.
I'm hoping I'm going to walk out of this thinking, yes, this is an equal to the lakes, and it's amazing that there's 2 events up north. But nothing can rival. They're so different.
Yes, that's the thing.
I want it to be an
the fact
equal,
it's
but different.
Yeah.
Something that you can say, well, I can go to both.
And get a different experience.
Completely different experience, but get what I want from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Southerners.
Stop.
You might have all the fun with your shows and stuff, but
But what?
we've got the best comic things.
Yes.
Yeah. That's.
Foreigners don't read and they need the pictures to look at.
Are you saying they're not an equal form of?
Oh no! I was just making a joke. We are not going into that quagmire because I do think they're an equal form. I was just being silly.
Yes. Finally, before we go, we've had a very brief, a very brief preview of some of the guests coming to the lakes next year, and we put in for one that we want. I want, I should say.
I was saying, you were the one jumping up and down wanting it.
If some of these names come, yeah.
Just tease the people.
Well, I'm not going to say anything.
No, we're not allowed to say anything.
One, we're not allowed. 2, it's nothing's definite.
Sure, there's a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, we didn't sign anything. But yeah, the names that's being thought of already and being discussed is pretty impressive. So we've only got a year to wait.
No, it's not long.
Yeah, stop the summer. Get it out of the way quickly.
No, just give me some water. Do you know, we're 1 degree. 1 degree.
1 degree.
-2 when it started.
Right, we're approximately 49 minutes now from Thought Bubble.
I'm sure people really need to know that.
Well, I'm just about to close down this segment.
Oh, is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Look, a sheep.
We're still travelling on the A65, and we'll keep going for this for many miles. It's not too bad.
Okay.
When we get there, we'll give our brief impressions. I think we'll do as soon as we get there.
Are we?
Yeah, road report. Get on the road. Get into the middle of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then we'll see what interviews and bits and bobs we get, and then on the way back we'll discuss the show.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. God knows what I'm saying that for.
I don't know.
Let's
You're
just
going to be
shut
back
this
in a minute.
down. Shut this
Right.
down. Here we are in Leeds.
Yes.
We picked up our press passes.
And they let us straight in.
We let us straight in, like half an hour before it opens.
Yeah.
We can have a right good old wander. We're all nosy.
Yes.
I mean, it's only half empty. Oh, I've just seen the face. We need to go over
we need
here.
to go over there. and
Right,
annoy
we're
them.
going to annoy people.
I like the fact that we can annoy
I love this. Absolutely love this.
Yeah.
He's looked at us, but
He's
he doesn't
looked, but he
recognise
doesn't
us yet.
know.
He doesn't know who we
He
are.
doesn't know who we
He
are.
doesn't recognise us.
No, he
Oh
does
no,
now.
he's crying.
The pennies
He's crying.
dropped.
He's really upset.
He knows who we are.
He knows
now.
who we are. Oh my God, it's Mr. Matt Garvin. Hello.
Hello.
It's been many moons. Many moons.
And you call me when my voice is going.
This isn't a bad thing.
Yeah,
I better
actually,
turn
it's
this
a
off
good
now.
idea.
We're still recording on our opening chat. And I thought that was whiskey then, but no, it's down
Is
in
that
honey.
vegan? Come on. I don't think bee vomit is vegan.
Bollocks.
Yes, failed.
You failed that.
Day
I mean,
7 or
as a
whatever.
product of an animal.
Do you know what? I failed. I've gone 2 weeks I've not had any meat. I've been as vegan as much as possible. I had a drink with him. We went to McDonald's and I was like, no. No, I know. But my wife, bless her, she went, no, you've been in so well. And she went, Just have the weekend off, so yeah.
I don't think vegans are allowed to have a weekend off.
But you know what it is? But you know what con's like? It's like you kind of got to eat what you can, and like the hotel and stuff, there wasn't a lot of options, so there's only
that's all I'm
hearing that. Blah, blah, blah,
McDonald's.
There was nothing on the menu at the hotel that was vegan.
Really?
Yeah.
Things you ever had a spine.
let me introduce you to Totty. Totty is my brother from a Scouse mother, and my collaborator on Pray For Us.
Which is just, we've not managed to read, unfortunately, yet. I apologise.
No, it's fine. These are the guys that do the Lakes podcast.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
He might be able to sell stuff on it. Let's chat to them now.
But you're here just today. You wasn't here yesterday.
No, we did yesterday.
No.
So look at your table again, just full of
awesomeness.
Quality.
Awesomeness.
Full of quality.
Yes.
So how were your sales yesterday then?
Not bad. We did 73, something like that. Yeah. So it was good. I'd like to have done 100, but I'm happy with that. If I can do the same today, that'd be good. But Prey has been selling really, really well. A lot of people have been buying Prey too, so which is good because a lot of people obviously bought it somewhere else and come and got it. But are you actually recording this?
We are actually recording this.
I thought this was just like a casual chat.
We were recording and we saw the guy. So all that crap you've just said about.
Yeah, we've totally got all that.
Do you know what? My customers are the worst. No, I'm joking. I love them all, really.
So, is this your first full bubble or?
My very first full bubble, and probably my last.
It's too far north, that's why. It's got a headache.
No, do you know what? It's not that. Maybe June, February, isn't it? So I doubt I can go.
You're not going anywhere next year.
Mrs. Garvey, I'm just going to go away for 3 days. Yeah, I don't think that'll go down well.
Yeah,
so.
but for you, that'll be the best thing.
For me, it'd be lovely.
Yeah.
But it does cost a lot of money.
6 months in or so, it'll be alright.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
You'll be calling, getting into things by then.
No, I don't even like leaving my wife, let alone my wife and my child.
I don't really. I think it's more how needy he would be.
Yeah.
I am very needy. I'm very needy.
Way around.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to leave you to it. We're going to keep wandering.
Yes.
And we'll be back shortly.
Lovely to finally meet you guys. Thank you.
We'll be back later.
Definitely. Delete all that. We'll do it again.
That's totally going at the start.
So that was cool. We wanted to meet Matt for a long time.
Yes.
So wandering around the
ex-vegan.
first half. The ex-vegan, now a vegan again. Big hall, first of all.
Well done.
Loads of creators. Well, it is a hangover. That sounds wrong. I'm not going to continue what I mean when you say hangover, but I'm going to stop there. Big hall, first of all. Yeah. Full of tables, which is good to see. It's certainly already the biggest small press sort of set table I've ever seen before. We're going to continue wandering. We'll come back in a bit.
Mike's Mutterings.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Mike's Mutterings. Seems a while since I've done a solo session. In the run-up to the festival, I joined with Pete to have a bit of fun around discussing some of the forthcoming events, and then post-festival we all got together to discuss what our highlights were. And, well, that's the 2019 Lakes International Comic Art Festival done. We spoke about the various creators, the writers and the artists, the diversity of the art and the culture presented, and the amazing opportunities to meet other like-minded souls and celebrate all that is comic art. But we only touched on the most important aspect of the festival, and that's the loot. The booty, the swag, those carrier bags of comics, novels, badges, pins, prints, and anything else you've squandered your hard-earned cash on. So this episode, I'm going to talk about some of my favourite purchases of this year, and hopefully give an idea of what you'll find at the festival. First up is a purchase I meant to make last year, but I missed getting back to the stall in time after attending another event. And that's the Kugali Anthology, specifically the RAKI Edition. Kugali are a publishing company who specialise in publishing works inspired by African culture, be that in comic form, print art or apps, or even augmented reality. They've run a couple of very successful Kickstarters and have a varied and wonderful product range. It's worth checking out kugali.com to have a browse through. The anthology books pull together various comics they've published, with the RAKI editions focusing on the more mature audience ones. And the reason I've been wanting to get my hands on one is because this really sums up the international aspect of the festival for me. I love delving deep into other cultures, and what I look for in these kind of comics, it's exactly what you look for in your favourite kind of travel, and that's some sort of culture shock, something different. A different viewpoint, or even a set of alien values, I guess. These are African creators showcasing works steeped in African culture. The RAKI edition I got has 3 amazing stories in it. First up is Oro, a mysterious being with an undead familiar who's dragged back into an ancient war with a demonic beast, one that's thought long dead. It's a mix of the spiritual and the sorceress, and it's kind of ancient beings battling in a newer, more unfamiliar world for them. The text is wonderfully done, actually, prose-like in places, and one of the nice touches is the scattering of Pidgin English and Yoruban into the dialogue. With translations, of course, it just kind of adds that extra flavour. I must say this isn't a complete story, though. It's just the first 4 issues of the run. But it's enough to, get your interest, and definitely made me want to read more. The second story is Cain and Benny, Afro Space Adventures. It immediately has a psychedelic space opera feel to it, an Africanized version of Valerian, as it were. The artwork is stunning and bonkers at the same time. It's sort of, if you read Pete Milligan and Brendan McCarthy when they get together, it's kind of bonkers in that kind of way. It collects 3 issues, and all of them are standalone stories. And if culture shock is what you want, yeah, you get it on this. It's all wonderfully chaotic and mad expressive artwork just bursting out from the page. You even get an entire story told only in sound effects, and I think that Cain and Benny is probably my favourite story in the entire anthology. Finally, we have Aiku, avenging the injustices of the dead, whom he can see and talk to. A temple is defiled, and a bastard princess is put in peril. It's an interesting dark fantasy, leaving on a note of mystery. The anthology includes interviews with all the artists, offering further insights into their work. It's a great anthology and a wonderful taster menu for getting into the Kugali titles. Another favourite purchase was Frankenstein Texas, by Dan Whitehead and illustrated by David Hitchcock. It was Dan himself I actually met at the festival and spoke to, and although I've not heard of the title before, I was instantly drawn towards it. I love Weird West and penny dreadful gothic genres, so this obviously had instant appeal to me. The title did not disappoint. Told partially from Victor Frankenstein's point of view through his diary entries, it logs the journey of Victor and his nameless monster from Belfast all the way to the New World. In the book, of course, they were supposed to have gone to the Arctic, but this time it's America. Escaping their past sins, they both search for a new home. The relationship between creator and construct is my favourite aspect of all of this, though. Unusual bedfellows at first, but with a strange respect for each other, a bonding of mutual benefit, and keeping each other's excesses in check would probably be the best way to describe it. It captures the New World perfectly, with every Wild West trope explored. Hitchcock's art really is nice. The entire book is colourless pencil work, apart from the cover coloured by Matthew Sophie. The detail and depiction of the voyage and the landing docks is breathtaking. I love pencils, and when they are done so well like this, they're just perfect for setting the tone. It's packed with period details as it transitions really well between the busy, cluttered towns into the wide open plains. David Whitehead writes a well-crafted story with dialogue sounding authentic and natural. And kudos to Jim Campbell for his lettering. The diary entries are really lovely. I can't wait for another book and the further evolution of the characters. Dan was an interesting guy to talk to, and a huge benefit of the festival is that you can get your purchases signed there and then. You can't underestimate just how many talented and creative small press comics there are, and finding gems like this just makes your day. Well, that's a couple of the smaller press titles I liked, but the big press is there too. Page 45 Comic Shop have an entire room stacked high with a very well curated collection of publications. It's become a bit of a tradition for us to spend a good hour or so and buy at least 3 books that we've not seen before. So it's got to be a first time see, so you've got to go just off the back jacket. And the best of the ones I picked this year was DIE, Volume 1, Fantasy Heartbreaker. It's funny, but when I look back over the last year of producing Mike's Mutterings, one name has featured prominently. So whenever I actually prep for one of these podcasts, I tend to think of a theme and gather all the relevant comics and graphic novels I own, maybe buy a couple that have been recommended, and then read through them all to get a list of my recommended reads for that genre or theme. And interestingly, writer Kieran Gillen has featured heavily in my top must-reads this year without me realising till now. And DIE is yet another from his growing portfolio. This time with artist Stephanie Hans, letterer Clayton Cowles, designer Rhiann Hughes, and editor Chrissy Williams. It was an instant pick for me thanks to the back cover blurb. And I'll read it in its entirety. In the 90s, 6 teenagers disappeared into a fantasy role-playing game. Only 5 returned. Nearly 30 years later, these broken adults are dragged back to discover the game isn't finished with them yet. So hopefully you can see why I picked this, having covered RPG comic and alt 90s genres already this year. I can't believe I'd never come across this. The die in the title I totally missed. It's not die as in death, but die as in singular of dice. A well thought out and clever title, really. I know you shouldn't instantly compare newly created artworks to existing, but it sometimes does make nice shorthand. From the back of the blurb you instantly think, oh, Stranger Things mixed with... Well, okay, I went to Mazes and Munsters, which is a seriously old and terrible Tom Hanks film. But I also thought It, with the whole sort of idea of grown-ups regrouping again after a long absence and they have a shared childhood experience. And the reviews online do the same. But the cruelest shorthand, I thought, came from Kieran Gillen himself, when he hastily shorthands it to Goth Jumanji. Yeah, but all of this comparison of genres really does it a misjustice. It's far more intricate and complicated beast entirely. The setup is perfect, with our reluctant teenage heroes meeting up for a birthday role-playing game session and promptly disappearing off the face of the earth, before returning a few years later, missing a member and being unable to discuss their trauma with anyone else. Fast forward to their 40s, and relationships between the friends have changed. Some are closer, some a little bit more remote, but these are broken people with fractured lives. But an unexpected gift brings them together again, and they're basically forced to face the fact that the past may not be so easily forgotten for them. They really are broken in their own way. Time hasn't been kind, and the book is great at focusing on that and the journey that each of them go on. The characters are all interesting and detailed, with a strong story moving their evolution. Sophie's artwork is both detailed and realistic in capturing the story, theme and tone throughout. I'm totally hooked on this, I have to admit, and it's going to be a perfect gift for quite a few of my friends and family. Going back to unfair comparisons, though, there has always been a running joke in the D&D community about whatever happened to the kids in the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon, as it ended before they got back home to reality. There's always been funny cartoons or memes or references to famous people that they turned out to be, and when reading the first chapter of DIE, I was counting up the number and the gender of the adventuring party to see if Kieran was pulling off a huge in-joke here. I can confirm there is no barbarian, cavalier or balding dwarf dungeon master, but I'm sure that there is more than a nod to this unanswered infamous nerd question. Before I go, a quick mention of 2 I haven't included in my favourites. Schism by Mark Abner, a great piece of mind-bending sci-fi, which I'm saving as I'd like to see if I can interview Mark sometime in the new year. And secondly, Silverbeard by our own Pete Taylor, which I can't review on grounds of bias and fairness. Till next time.
do. Welcome to Breakdowns, the comic art section of the podcast. I'm Pete Taylor. I'm a comics creator and illustrator. Online, I trade as This Man, This Pete. Today, I'm chatting to the creator of Gateway City and fellow Scroll Lord. It's cartoonist Russel Mark Olsen. Welcome back, Russell.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's always good to be back, dude. Good to see you.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, I just noticed from the Skype log, I think it was like August 2018 was the last time you were on the podcast.
Really?
I know. So it's ridiculous long time, because obviously we're lucky enough to see each other quite often now at a lot of the events that we attend over the year. So with it being the end of the year, I thought it'd be quite fun to have a chat about a review of the year from that indie comics creator viewpoint, but not just talking about your favourite books. We will cover that, of course. It's part of the review of the year. But there's lots of different aspects to being an indie comics creator. And one of those is the events. So, I mean, have you attended a lot this year?
Yeah. I'm trying to think, sort of count really quickly in my head. Probably 6, I think, this year. Is that
the usual amount?
It's really difficult to say what usual is.
Yeah.
So I've only been doing it, I think this is my 3rd year now. So first year I did like 2 or 3, and then last year I did 10.
Cool.
So I was like, I'm going to scale back. I initially intended to do 5, but then Matt Hardy had some space available at MCM in October. So I was like, well, okay, we'll try it. We'll give it a shot. So 6 this year. I think 5 is probably where I'd like to be.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I mean, every couple of months, that sounds good. If you can space them right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, me and Mark, I think we only did 3 this year. And that's when we were a bigger sort of group, we used to do more. But, I mean, we mainly aim for the big 2 at the end of the year, really, for us, which is Thought Bubble and the Lakes Festival. Mm-hmm. And they were it was a big change in Thought Bubble, of course, this year. That was one of the events that had a big move of venue from Leeds to Harrogate. So how did you find that?
I did a complete 180 on my impression, on my regard for it. I guess you could say. I did not enjoy Leeds at all, which isn't to. I don't want like the people of Leeds to think that I'm slagging them off. I didn't enjoy the convention. It's the city. Oh, that city was terrible. No, I mean the traffic. If you're not like a regular there, the traffic is that one-way system is a nightmare. I think it brought Nick Pollux to tears. We were nearly there, but I mean, in terms of like just the con itself, it was I don't know. There was something like quite segregated about it, just with all the different tents everywhere, and you know, like I went and saw. I tried to see as much as I could, but it's so impossible. And I went and checked in on Aaron Rackley from Little Hero Comics, because they put like kids comics in the museum, but it wasn't really well signposted, and there was like 10 people in there just twiddling their thumbs. It was awful. So this year, being moving to Harrogate, being under one roof. Massively different. It was upbeat. It was it felt really inclusive. It felt like for someone who's in the indie bracket, I suppose like probably most people in comics start out in the indie scene.
Yeah.
And we all know people who are working for the bigger publishers and people who are just starting out putting together little photocopied zines. Like we know folks who've been around for ages, and we know people who've just entered into the scene. And So when you're out like afterwards at the after parties, whether they're formal or informal, there's a very sort of democratic feel to it all, and in the con this year felt very much like that. I know that in terms of actual placement last year, it probably wasn't any different. I mean, you did have the greats elbowing up with newcomers, but it just didn't quite feel as cohesive, to say that word again. Whereas this year, it really did. It felt like it. I'm sold again for it next year. You know, I want to go back.
I think facilities as well. The fact that you could grab a cup of coffee, that you could just go to the toilet without having to leave the venue itself. Yeah. All makes it that bit quick and easier for somebody who is. I mean, luckily, I tend to table with somebody. And I mean, we had the Scroll Lords row this time, so you're always helpful. You'll have friends who can, nip behind the table, but it made it that much easier to just nip to see somebody as well, because you weren't actually physically leaving one venue, walking to another, and then getting back sometimes in the rain. So I thought, and it does have a very different feel from the lakes. It does feel like a kind of, it's like the Walmart of sort of comic book, like the superstore, Yeah. I always remember my dad when he first saw one of these kind of massive Tesco's. He just couldn't believe the size of it, everything under one roof, and that's a little bit what Thought Bubble feels like. You've got all the pros, you've got all the indies, you've got the merch. It's like everything's catered for, but spread around in such a way that you don't lose focus, that it absolutely definitely is all about comics. So I think that's an advantage of Thor.
So does that mean like MCM then is like one of those big like cost cutters, and like Costco, like one of those sort of massive like what's the one over here for like suppliers? I can't think of the name of it, but I don't know what the next up in size is it? From a superstore. I suppose that it would be. Well, I suppose it would be something more like the actual shopping centre, wouldn't it? Where you have the whole mall. Something like. I haven't been to MCM yet, so I'm gonna have to try and do the. It's in the Excel, isn't it? Yes. Yeah.
So was that the first time you'd gone there this year?
Yeah.
And how was that?
Oh, Jesus Christ! It was heavy. It was really heavy. It was a lot of hard work. I don't want to say that like cons aren't work. They absolutely are. Yeah. But and they are draining. They are physically draining. But this one, I think just because the days are so long, you've got 3 days in a row. It's such a massive space. And there are just so many people coming through that it's like you're overstimulated in a way. Yeah. It was all right. It was okay. I mean, if we want to like talk nuts and bolts, I think I made more both at Lakes and Thought Bubble individually than I did for MCM. So you kind of expect for that size of show to do better, for that to be your big payday.
And how many days was it?
3.
It was 3, was it? Yeah.
It was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, it's a long haul, isn't it?
And it is. The Saturday is the long day. That's like what, 10 until 7, I think it is.
Oh. Right.
Cool. It's a long old day. Yeah, it's a long old day. And it was the bigger of the sales days, but by like 5 o'clock, I think I probably sold like 2 comics for the rest of the day. So. It's somebody, I think it was either Matt Garvey or Matt Hardy who said it. Somebody during that day that was named Matt. But the difference with MCM is from some of the other cons is that you've got like in an hour you'll have 100 people come past your table, whereas say like Lakes or Thought Bubble you'll have 30 or 40, which is still a lot, but it's with with the museum it's 100, but you're only getting maybe 3 sales from that, whereas you could probably get that same level of sales at Lakes or Thought Bubble. So you're pitching all the time, and you're pitching to multiple people at the same time. And I mean, while I was sitting next to Matt Hardy and Clark Bent and Ash Stedman, and so we kind of helped each other out, taking turns at the table. At the same time, we were 2 separate entities, so it was different. So it's the first time I've kind of tabled on my own,
right?
And that is tough. It is so much better when you've got a table buddy.
Yes,
you need to get away.
Yeah, the very first Lakes I did, I was on my own. The only time I left was it was the year they had Geordie Bernay.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and it was like, I don't care, you can steal everything on my table, I'm going. Luckily, I was next to Connor and Lizzie from Disconnected Press, so Lizzie did look after my table and stop people from stealing everything. But yeah, I wasn't going to miss that one, so that was just, I was beaming. But it's hard work.
Sorry, I know, like, this isn't to be sort of sycophantic or anything, but Lakes it's just earned this sort of special place in my heart. There's no other con that is as hospitable as they are there. You just feel so welcome. You feel important. I don't know what it is, but there's this sort of image of like the little tiny country pub with the fireplace and really interesting people sitting around talking. Like, that's what Lakes feels like to me. And I love the fact that it's always raining and cold. It's like you come into this beautiful old building and you're huddled up and you're getting warm and you're getting cups of coffee handed to you and you're chatting with people, and I love that con. I love that con so much.
Yeah, I agree. And what I love as well is, I think partly because it's free, you get the clock tower in particular is free. You get people who are just interested, and they just wander through the building, and they, sometimes they're obviously have a mind to be looking for one particular thing. They might be, into their art or the prints or the comics, but otherwise they're just interested because something's going on in the town and they know there's an event on. I mean, I had people come to the table who said, I like some like nerd TV, but I don't really read comics. What's going on? And they were just really interested, up and open to find out what was going on and what all these creators had going on, which I find thrilling. Really, it's fab to just have a chat with people really a lot of the time. But yes, and the fact that you, unlike the other cons where like you might have the professionals tabling in the same room and split amongst everything, in this then they're rarely table. They do occasionally, but they actually do wander around, so you end up with a different sort of relationship to them. So you will end up chatting to some massive names sometimes without even realizing it.
Well, I think you had a situation where you had Brian and Mary Talbot walk by, didn't know who they were at all, because of course we don't know what each other look like. You had a situation too, didn't you?
It was old Michael Lark. The couple. It was Michael Lark. He was there talking about his image box. You're like, all right. And Lawrence Campbell.
Yeah, there we go.
A massive fan of as well. I mean, I like Mark said, he doesn't stop banging on about BPRD. But, they're not rock stars in that way. Sometimes you don't even know how to pronounce your favorite creators' names. When when you're growing up, you would see it written down. You'd only ever read it in your head. Before message boards and YouTube videos, me and my mates would talk about, Bill Sienkiewicz and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. We didn't have a clue.
Yeah. Still no idea how to say Mike Mignola. Is it Mike Mignola? Mike Mignola? No idea.
It's Mignola. Only because I've heard podcasts. I always go now, and sometimes if I'm unsure, I will look up because I have to talk about them on this segment as well.
Yeah.
I do double check sometimes. The other one is Jeff Lemire.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That was, again...
Jeff Lemire. Okay, I've always said Jeff Lemire.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you learned something.
Duncan Fegredo?
Not even going to try.
You've got all these names. I just try to file them away. It's like, I must remember. Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Well, I know this one, Richard, but one of my favorites is Tonti Zonic, or is this Jonic, or Chonic, Tonti, whatever. It's brilliant, but I mean, he even says don't try and pronounce.
Bless. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, he's got a new book coming out with Jeff Lemire.
Looks amazing. Looks amazing. Goodness, it looks good.
Oh, they are, you know, there's some creators that just make you stop in your tracks.
Yep.
He's definitely one of them. Well, this brings us then nice and neatly to new discoveries this year.
Okay.
So were there any creators or books or titles that have stood out in 2019?
I'm going to go sort of international on this one.
Mm-hmm.
We've had the Lakes in particular the good fortune of they always have a really good group of international cartoonists and writers and artists there.
Very much.
So Jacob Thibault, I think his name was.
Right.
I picked up a copy of Hemingway's Cats off of him. Just such a cool, really, really cool, almost sort of like just a really sort of good expressionistic style. There's like a bit of Spiegelman kind of in his work. But it's an adaptation of, I think, For Whom the Bell Tolls. But
cool.
they couldn't get the rights to the title, so he just called it Hemingway's Cats. A lovely guy, a really lovely guy. I mean, that's what I love about Lakes. It's just like that sort of universal fellowship of comic cartoonists and discovering each other for the first time and discovering that they're just a couple 100 miles away, if that. There are brilliant artists in their own scene doing their own thing. Really, really, really love that. There was another one that people were talking about at Lakes, which I picked up. Again, not even going to try I'm going to try and pronounce his name, but I'm not going to try and pretend that I know how it's actually pronounced. Ben Giesmans. Did you see this one? It was Hubert.
No, I don't think so.
I think he's Belgian.
It would have been Belgian this year.
Yeah. But it's this artist, like this sort of amateur painter, who like most of the comic is just him going through an art museum. It's got a bit of like kind of Chris Ware-ishness, maybe a bit of Winsor McKay, but it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. I know people at home can't see, but did that ring a bell?
Oh, I have seen that. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
That looks amazing.
Absolutely beautiful. I mean, some of the stuff, like I don't know how long I've spent just kind of poring over this book now. I mean, that kind of Winsor McKay thing, with like Maurice Sendak colors, it's just gorgeous. It's just so beautifully done. And then the two Portuguese chaps who we befriended at Thought Bubble.
Yes.
Andre Satano. I'm sorry, Andre. I'm butchering surnames, but his work was beautiful. I felt kind of an affinity with his work. There's sort of a lot of heavy brush work. Isn't afraid to let like the full width of the brush come out to produce line work. And I didn't get a chance to pick up his comic. Sold out by the time I got around to it. I think Gustavo Vargas picked up the last copy before I could, and I'll never let him live that down.
Yeah.
But he's
classic Gustavo.
I know, right? What a jerk. Douchiest guy in comics. Oh, he's just sitting there grinning right now because one more podcast has become about him.
Yes. I think it should be.
Yeah. No, yeah. Gustavo, I was tabling right across the way from him, so he managed to get a copy before I could. But it's Lule or Lule, I'm not sure, but it's a sci-fi book. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So now I've since ordered one from him, so I will be getting it shortly. But then the other one, Zay Brunet's Andromeda, again, just a gorgeous book. Beautiful line work. It's. I mean, that I know that we're not making this into like a top 10 of the year, but that's going to be on a lot of people's lists, I think. Yes. He just made such an impression at Thought Bubble.
Yes. Because that sold out by the time I went over. So, because I tend to leave, I suppose a lot of, indies do, you when it gets slack, it's sort of like 3 or 4, but of course there is the chance it's sold out. And so, yeah, I ordered, funny enough, I ordered Zay's, but I'll have to catch up with Andre's as well.
It's if nothing else, just go onto his website, andrekatano.com. There's a lot of his stuff. He's really has quite a variety of work. But I'd love to meet back up with those guys, do a con on the continent.
Yeah. I was thinking, somebody I spoke to said there was a con in Bavaria. And that sort of put the I've not done I did have a table in where was it, Finland or somewhere, but I couldn't manage to go. But Ricky managed to, he did take the table at the time. That was when we were in collective mode. But yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it, to go to the continent? It'd be a good, should do a road trip.
Yeah, definitely. There's Stefan Newhouse. Again, probably butchered his name. He's a lovely Dutch chap who seems to come to the lakes. Well, at least the 2 years I've been there, he's been there. And he was recommending Haarlem, in the Netherlands.
Oh, right.
He said that's a really good con. So I'd love to do that one.
Yeah.
Angoulême is the dream. I think I'll wait a little while before I do that one. But I think next year would be maybe we should just get a Scrawlords table.
Oh, that would be the best, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? That way we could all kind of take turns going around and sing.
Yeah, make the best of it. Totally.
Yeah. All right, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it. That'd be amazing. Just have a little bag of books. Amazing.
Yeah.
No, it's a great selection. That is. Yeah. I mean, you were spoilt in Thought Bubble, to be honest. There was lots and lots of great work around there. So what's moving on from books and creators in terms of your own creation? Is there any work processes, anything that you've changed or discovered this year in your own work? It might be writing or artwork.
There's. I've just been going. I mean, I finished Lady Hollywood 2 at the very beginning of this year. So kind of, I think art was finished in January and letters were finished in February. So it's a project that we've just all been so busy just to kind of get the finishing touches on it. It's just taken us a while to pull our finger out. So I've been, over the last couple of days, I've been going over those pages and just sort of seeing if anything needs a tidy up, since I haven't looked at them in so long before we send them off to get printed. And there was something that I started on for the last couple of pages that I've been working on a little bit here and there, which is to draw on sheets of copy paper, A5 copy paper, and then blow those up in Photoshop, turn them in the blue line, and then print them out on A3, and then ink onto the page there. And I've done quite a few projects this year that have been done like that. And I'm still on the fence about whether or not I'm going to carry on with it. It has its bonuses. On one hand, because you're drawing at A4, and most of what you're going to be doing is scaled down even smaller than A4. Because like what a comic is, it's like 6.3 inches by 9.3, something like that, or 9.9 9 9 13ths inch or something like that. Whereas an A4 sheet is 10 by 9 or 10 by 8.
Well, see, I changed my page size because, of course, now Silverbeard is more.
Of course, yeah.
It's a fatter, bigger page. It actually works really well on. It's actually just about 10 mil short of A4. So in terms of, I used to have pages of different grids and all that, but yeah, it's very similar size to A4, and then it even gets a little fatter. If I just did a print in the States and it's about a quarter of an inch wider. So I'm quite looking forward to getting a proof copy from a file copy from the States, because I think it's going to be even kind of wider shouldered, a bit more of a meaty page. But when you say go on.
Oh, so I was going to ask you probably you may have been coming around to it as well. Is so working the size you are, me working the size I am. The thing that's nice about, and I don't know whether you found this, but what I really enjoy about working on that size, which is closer to the way it's going to look, at least for pencils, is I work faster. I mean, obviously you work faster because it's a smaller piece of paper, but you kind of have it built in that you know how much detail you need to put into a panel, and how much is going to be lost when you're working on a sheet of A3 or 11 by 17, or even I think some people work on like 14 by 17. You have all that space, and sometimes I get in the habit of drawing too small or making my gutters too small, and so then everything shrinks down and it looks a bit too like there's some pages on that in the first issue of Gateway from way back in the day where I feel like they're just so cramped. It's just too much trying to go on in a single page. So working in that way on a sheet of A4 and then blowing it up to A3, by the time I get around to inking it, I know more or less how things are going to where the balance is.
Yeah.
And then I can decide while I'm inking whether I want to add more detail or just follow the lines.
So how much detail are you putting in at this stage? I mean, are they quite rough pencils? Are they quite detailed? Does it change according to, a particular panel? Or do you tend to work to the same sort of level of pencil at this stage?
This is where I need to kind of find like a happy medium for it. Sometimes I'll work it just as much as I would if I was working straight onto a sheet of A3, and then sometimes I'll, for the sake of brevity, I'll leave a lot for me to clarify later, which sometimes it can work. Sometimes the theory behind it, at least what I've been telling myself to sort of say that I'm not just being lazy, is that the point of doing it is so that I get a closer level of expression from my inking when I'm when I'm using the brush. So I'm attempting to kind of create the line almost for the first time then when I'm inking.
Yeah.
And that can have really, really cool, very emotive, very expressive effects. But sometimes it can just look a little bit, particularly like figure work that really needs to be spot on. If the figure work isn't right, it can look a bit clunky.
I know what you mean, because sometimes I'll do the opposite in a sense, and I'll overwork a pencil because I want it to be, absolutely a certain way. But then I've drawn it so many times almost to get it right that when I come to ink it, it's lost any sort of life. Sometimes when you've drawn it 4 times to get it spot on, or drawn so much detail in that when I come to ink it, you lose the spontaneity, and and it looks a little too static and not there. So I'm trying to leave more in my inks as well, to be honest. But I don't know, it's a bit scary sometimes, isn't it? That's what it is. You just got to. It's just repetition, I suppose. I keep telling myself.
So, I think then from this point, it's kind of nice that the year is wrapped up the way it has. I've got a couple of projects I'm going to be starting pretty soon in the next few weeks, and it's nice to have these new projects that haven't been touched at all, so I can figure out how I'm going to complete them as I'm doing them. I can either continue on with this sort of abbreviated version, or go back to working in A3 with the knowledge that I can leave more space, leave more room for composition. So we'll see. It's interesting. I've learned a lot this year. I'm a bit frustrated that, like, in terms of actual output, there hasn't been as much out there, but I have been working the entire time. So, and I think that's where the main frustration is that I just worry that people are going to think that I have kind of thrown in the towel, or I'm resting on laurels or things like that.
Just happens sometimes, doesn't it? It's like, Chris Somney, I signed up to his newsletter, and he hasn't done a regular book since, was it Black Widow, I think, was maybe his last Marvel one.
Right.
And he keeps saying in the newsletter, he says it's not that I'm not working, it's just that, what I'm working on isn't out there yet, so he might be doing a lot of covers or sketches and such. But I think one of your last new things on the table was your Inktober work. Is that right?
Yeah. I need to finish that. Oh, what do you mean? Do you mean the one that
Black Iris?
Right.
That was last year's. Sorry, it was last year's.
Yeah. That was So I because I was trying to finish up Lady Hollywood too. I thought, right, I can't do. I was spending too much time on Black Iris. Sometimes like a page would take 45 minutes. Sometimes it would take an hour or two. And like, that's just, for Inktober, that's just too long. It's way too long. So I put it aside until April and then came back on it. That actually, it's quite interesting. That's one of those ones where the kind of the inverse of what we were just talking about. I drew those and painted them all at A5, and then for the book blew it up to A4.
Yeah.
And that, I really enjoyed that, because it's all of your mistakes become huge. But there's something about when you enlarge, particularly something which is ink washes, like Black Iris was, is you can then you like your eyes can go in and out between seeing the medium or seeing the image.
Yeah.
And that, I really, really enjoyed that. I'd like to do more of that.
Yeah. No, it came out really well. I picked up a copy from BAM. And yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous. No, it's fab. So it's a great, and I like the fact that people have started to put more into Inktober really than just a page a day. The fact that you built a story around it. It just means you're really putting, sharpening up more skills than just your drawing skills, essentially, because you've got the story and you've got pacing and you've got other things to involve. So I think it's nice when other things get involved and other than just a sketch day. Not that I've ever done Inktober, so I don't know.
It's not something that I would necessarily recommend doing. I'm kind of like, I'm in two minds about how I feel about Inktober. On one hand, one thing for me is I'm not a doodler. I'm not a natural sit down and scribble something out. I find it really difficult to draw something if I don't have a narrative.
Right. Okay.
And I studied fine art, but I don't. I just never felt at home in fine art because there was always a criticism that the narrative was too on the nose. You should strip it back. You should make your audience have to kind of find the narrative. And I always really struggled with that. And so for Inktober, I just sort of naturally gravitate towards figuring out a way to tell a story just to keep my interest in it. But at the same time, like I entirely fell this is in many ways, I feel like Inktober really is for people who don't draw every day. And like to draw, but feel discouraged because they don't have enough time to hone their skills, so they're worried work isn't good enough and up to scratch. Whereas Inktober should be a celebration of anybody getting out some pens and pencils and making some marks. And I feel like some of us have been I think we've been assholes. We've taken it over and we've made it into like this, look at how fantastic we are. We can make comics and do all of this work at the same time. The rest of you guys, fuck off. And I've had a lot of people who've come up who followed along with Black Iris and like, oh, I really wanted to do Inktober, but I just saw things like what Chris Samney was doing and what so and so was doing, and I just felt like I couldn't compete. And I've heard that word used a couple of times, compete, and it's I think we've done the same thing that we do with Instagram or Facebook. Like we all try to present this brilliant version of our lives,
only showing the best bits.
And Inktober. So I don't know if I'm going to finish up the one that I started this year, but again, I had other contractual obligations that I had to commit to, and I felt like I really couldn't give the Inktober the time I wanted to give it, and still get things done on deadline. So I had to stop. But I'm doing a Gateway City story for it. But I think if I do it again, I'm going to try and be quite brave in a sense and just do crappy little drawings.
Yeah. I think that would be the only way that I'd be able to do it. I think would be almost on a time limit and literally giving yourself, X amount of time every day and be strict and say, whatever I've done, I'll post that. But I've tried doing sketch challenges before, and I completed one a few years ago just with random. It was just random list of stuff I think somebody in the group came up with. But I think you're right. I can see the advantages when you go to the website. It talks about it doesn't have to be every day. It talks about the fact that it's encouraging people to draw is the main thing. You don't have to use a pen or even ink, and digital's fine. It's about just getting back on, or experience in drawing in any way. And, certainly for my daughter, she was, I think, perhaps a little intimidated by what she saw online and didn't think she could do something every day. And I took her to the website and showed her and said, look, it just means anything, anytime you can with this hashtag. Really, it's all about just, joining in, really. And I can imagine if you aren't drawing regularly and you do manage to do it every day in October, it must be fantastic for somebody to look at the first one they did and the last one that they did, and surely there's got to be some improvement, I think, perhaps over those 30 days, and that's probably the main thing you get out of it.
Absolutely. It's almost to the point where I think it would really, it'd be a very charitable donation for. That sounds like a terrible word, but it would be magnanimous of those of us who do draw all the time to sit that out.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think you're right. Or even just post other people's or something. Yeah.
That's the thing that I kind of kicked myself that I didn't do this year in hindsight. I work part-time in a school and I run a comic club and I printed off some little like A6 sheets of paper with Inktober written on top in the square, and then little prompts for everybody, and handed those out. And then I started handing them out around the library, and quite a few people took it up. And I really enjoyed then putting them up we have a couple of display boards, and I put people's contributions up there for everybody to see. And I realized far too late that I should have been doing something similar online. I should have been retweeting people who really were doing this because it was an opportunity to brush off their pens and pencils and draw when they something as a pastime that they enjoy doing as a therapeutic thing or a responsive thing. And I didn't do enough of that, and that's on me.
Just live and learn, isn't
it?
Yeah. You mentioned Lady Hollywood 2 earlier, and that's due out on Kickstarter soon.
It's live now, actually.
Cool.
it went live on the 28th. Yeah, so yesterday.
Right.
So whenever this goes out.
This should be going out on the 1st, which is a Sunday.
Okay.
So
so it'll be out for a couple of days from now.
So it's going to run for probably most of December.
Yeah. I think the 20. I think it's the 28th to the 29th of December is when we finish. So it'll be finished before the new year. Yeah. Cool.
So any listeners can look up Lady Hollywood on Kickstarter and find you there.
Yeah, that's brought out by Cult Empire. So Lady Hollywood 2, Cult Empire, you'll find it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Russell, for reviewing 2019 with me. And
my pleasure, Pete.
We will no doubt be back with all the Scroll Lords. I will get onto that, and we'll have some New Year podcast mayhem.
Nice.
And, we're all back together. But otherwise, hope the Kickstarter goes great. And speak to you soon. Cheers, mate.
All right, bye.
Thanks for listening. You can follow me at ThisManThisPete on Instagram and Twitter, and buy my comic, The 7 Sagas of Silverbeard, at silverbeard.co.uk.
Hi there everyone, this is Tom from That Comic Smell podcast, and welcome to Small Pressed, the small press review section of the Comic Art Festival podcast. It's been a wee while since we've sat down and done a wee review of something, so I thought I'd pick up something that came up fairly recently. Death Inc. is a series that's by Charles H Raymond, and recently he has released Book 3. Now, I've been a big, massive fan of the Death Inc. series since stumbling across it on Comic House a while back, and just totally was enamoured by it. The description for Death Inc. Book 1 that starts the series is: Stanley is dead. He makes the decision to drastically change his life when it comes to an abrupt end after colliding with a bus. He steps into a world called Afterlife, unsurprisingly, where he discovers that death has long since been overrun by the job of bringing people into the afterlife, and has been hiring others to help him. Death is now the head of an enormous conglomerate called Death Incorporated. The comic follows Stan as he tries to adapt to life after death. Death Inc. is a slice of death story, sometimes funny, sometimes sad. It acts as a self-aware reflection on life. It's a series that very much has a traditional look on it, but doesn't at the same time. It plays a lot with negative space. There is a lot of black pages with white panels and black and white going on. It's a black and white comic. They're usually quite thick. They're usually over about between 130 and 150, I think, if I remember rightly. But book 3 is just under 150 pages. And I can't really go into it too much without spoiling the story, so I'll just highlight bits of it, not really necessarily about the characters or what happens to them or anything, but just more about the art and the presentation and everything, which, might add, is spectacular. I mean, Charles has totally stepped up his game. The first one was a really nice look at what Charles H Raymond could do and show us what kind of a story he's got in him. I mean, it really played with a lot of different concepts, but still remained really funny and kind of like very satirical and stuff in places. And Charles has got a nice sort of illustrative, cartoony sort of style to him, but with a lot of detail in amongst it as well. It's really nice. There is a certain construction that Charles has with the pages where he can play with just a lot of empty space and really still have you gripped on what's going to happen next. There's a particular scene within this third book that plays a lot with white space as opposed to black space, and it's really interesting, a wee bit different, and really something that moves the story forward and keeps the action going, per se. The only thing that I would say about this book that disappointed me in any way, shape or form is that I think I'm right in saying that Charles has said that this is the end of the Death Inc. series. And I would have loved to have seen so much more. He's got such a good characterization. He's got such a great way of working the world and figuring out where the characters fit into this world and everything. I feel like there's so much more story that could be told here. I think it would be a shame if he just stopped at book 3. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you're looking for a series that just is 3 big, massive, sort of large-sized graphic novels, by all means, yeah, it's a solid series, and it very much wraps up and lets you know what's going on and answers a lot of questions that were really left in book 2. You were really left on a big cliffhanger with a lot of book 2. So book 3 really picks up and gets going and answers a lot of those questions in magnificent style. But like I say, that's it. One thing that stands out big time in this series is the covers. And this last cover with Death / the Grim Reaper is, oh my god, it's just the skeleton and the suit, and I look at that every time and think, God, I could have that tattooed on me. It's just absolutely fantastic. Charles has really taken a massive step up between book 1 and book 3, though. I mean, it's just a huge step up, even like these layouts, his pacing, the advancing of the story, the characters, relationships. I mean, there's massive reveals in this, everything. It's like Charles has been dialed up to 1,000 on this story and just honing in on everything and making sure it's the absolute best. His characters also have a lot of complexities about them, and in some respects you only feel like you've scratched the surface a wee bit, hence why I would probably want to see a wee bit more, to be fair. But then maybe that's just really good storytelling as well. It's Charles really pushing to that point of getting you so invested in the story that you just want to spend so much more time with them. But yeah, 100% I would go for Death Inc. Book 3. They're cheap as chips for what they are. They're a huge, massive, weighty tome to read. I think book 1 and 2, if I remember rightly, are both on Comic House. You can get them from Charles' website, notsotiny.co.uk, notsotiny.co.uk, and he's got a shop button there. He does actually have the comics up online as well. Book 1, book 2 and book 3, all massive weighty books, and you're going to get them for 30 quid. Like, amazing. And I would rush now as well, because Etsy is saying only 2 available copies left of book 1, and you'll be able to see his other works there, like the Chlorophyll and his 24-hour comic Swine Fever, and some of his badges and stuff as well. You'll get them on Etsy and Not So Tiny Comics. But like I say, if you go to notsotiny.co.uk, you'll be able to find his shop there. And you'll be able to find these other comics like Dust and Another Comic and Brian's Song. You'll also be able to find Charles on Twitter at not_so_tiny and Instagram NotSoTinyComics, NotSoTinyComics, Not So Tiny Comics. And you get to keep up with like his Fakemons and his Pokemons and all the beautiful pieces of art and illustration that Charles does throughout the year. But yeah, definitely check that out. Death Inc. Book 3, or the whole of the Death Inc. series. And that is it for Small Press this time. If you'd like to send on any recommendations or send on your books for me to read and maybe give them a review on here, give us a shout. Let me know what you're reading. I'd love to speak to some of you and find out what you're reading at the minute and what's really tickling your fancy. If you stumbled across any goodies on Comic House or anything, never across to Twitter, you can contact me at URAMYX, at Uramix, or you'll be able to get me on my podcast, Twitter and Instagram at That Comic Smell. And that is it for Small Press this time. I have been Tom, and I will see you later. Bye for now.
And we're back in the studio.
Studio?
That's what I'm calling it, the studio.
Right, not a table in the corner of the room.
Well, what is a studio?
Well, that probably has like those egg boxes on the walls and things.
Well, we've got...
We haven't got that. I've got a cold.
You got a cold? Here we go.
I'm dying.
It's that time of year.
It's that time of year. When we live in a cave. The cave is damp. And Nikki gets bad colds.
Whinge.
Dying. Send help.
We didn't record anymore at Thought Bubble 2019.
No, we didn't. I think we were a bit brained out.
Yeah. So let's talk about our experience in Harrogate.
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 Is that what we're going to call it now?
Harrogate. Because that's posh.
Posh.
Well, it is a posh place.
I don't know. We didn't see much of it. Saw a multi-storey car park and part of a road.
Well, it's quite a nice multi-storey car park.
It was a car park.
All right. So we walked in there, had a quick chat with Matt Garvey.
We did.
Which we've played previously to this, obviously.
Oh, have we?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't realise we'd done that bit already. Yes, we've done that bit already. And wasn't Matt a lovely guy?
He's a lovely guy.
Lovely guy.
And
he's quite huggy.
Then we had a bit of time to wander around without.
We did because we got him well in advance.
Press pass.
Because we are press.
And my initial thought, I think I just became a bit overwhelmed.
I think that's what happened, really.
The halls there was 2 halls.
And a little bit on the edge.
And they were huge.
They were huge.
And there was so many sellers there.
Yeah.
And it was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is some. I mean, we've been MCM.
Yeah.
This was bigger than MCM.
It was, actually, yeah.
One of the halls, maybe slightly more, is normal MCM. Not, it's.
Yeah, it was 2 huge halls.
It was huge.
Do you know the thing I think what made it bigger was the fact you had no way of seeing the outside world.
It was enclosed.
It was like we were in a dungeon.
A big dungeon?
A really big dungeon.
A massive dungeon?
Maybe like the multi-story car park we've just been in.
Yeah.
But I think that was the bit it could make you feel a bit claustrophobic, and because I am elbow and armpit height, I can get a bit crowded in.
It was. I mean, it was busy and crowded, but it wasn't.
It
as bad as an MCM.
Quite, no, you weren't. Well, mainly because you weren't being stabbed in the head by any cosplayers.
True.
With umbrellas and stuff.
So it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't the silliness of an MCM. You could actually walk around, and there was space to breathe.
Yeah.
And you weren't fighting.
No, it had a nice. Kids. It had a flow to it, which was nice.
Yeah. Obviously, went in and saw Pete.
We did.
We met Tom for the first time.
I thought he was mythical.
Well, to be fair, we did go and see him, and he wasn't there.
He wasn't. And then when we went to go where he's supposed to be, he wasn't there either.
No.
He was never where he was supposed to be.
Until he decided he would show himself.
Yes, like
a little elf on
like
a shelf.
An elf. Like a fairy. We proved ourselves, and then he appeared. So, yes, he was lovely.
He was. We saw Tony again.
Tony.
Always nice to see. What's wrong with Tony? What did Tony do to you,
Tony sprung a recorder on me. Tony got me for an interview.
And what did you speak to Tony about?
Many things. What bit do you mean, darling? Oh, about my book.
About
Moon.
Moon.
I can't say it today. Moon.
No, it's good to see Tony. Always.
I love seeing Tony because he has twinkly eyes.
Yeah, but he didn't have your badge.
No, he didn't have my badge, did he? No, but he did post it to us as well.
He did.
So he has made himself fine
again. Who else did we go and see?
Vince.
We saw Vince. We met Vince for the first time.
I teased Vince.
You bullied Vince.
I bullied Vince, and then Vince flounced off. But it's okay because we had like a weird hug later, so it's fine.
A weird hug?
Remember, it was the arm hug over the table hug.
Emma Viacelli. So we said hello.
Completely fangirled over her as usual.
The usual Lakes lot, the Everington brothers, Yoms and Corey.
Yeah. Obviously, I hugged all them.
You got a copy of Haru from Joe.
Yes. Joe is so nice. Yes.
We discussed about the table and so forth, and essentially you're copying his ideas.
I'm basically nicking what Joe does. He's fine. He's perfectly fine with that. Yeah, Joe's so sweet. He's like the sweetest man on earth.
He is possibly the nicest comic creator.
He is. I think he can happily have that.
But I think he
is. He's just, you would, I just want to wrap him up. I love Corey. Oh.
No, I think he is.
Oh.
I think Corey would have a sneaky drink with you.
Corey's got a little devilish side to him, so that's fine. But we'll Joe is literally an angel. Yeah. Yeah, so it goes Joe, then Corey.
Yeah, and there's quite a few. You on a massive badge hunt throughout the day.
I'm always on a massive badge hunt.
Comics now, we don't care
I don't
about
do
them.
comics anymore. I don't need to do them. Badges, that's where it is for me. Yeah, I get badges. It's fine.
To the point you're making your own at the minute.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for my badge to come through now.
Promote them in a future
Again,
episode.
thank you, Joe.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Who he gets them from?
Yeah.
Because you like the wooden.
I love,
wooden
yeah,
effects.
because it just looked different to the enamel ones. I think it suits me more.
We saw John Wagner again, who completely forgot who the hell we were.
Even though we looked after his table, he went for a wee. Yeah.
I even had to put in there. You probably won't remember us.
Yeah, no, he doesn't remember you.
No.
It's fine.
He did I back his Kickstarter?
And you went.
And I'll be honest, I should have lied.
You should have just lied. He would never have known.
Because I won't read it. I just didn't do the Kickstarter.
Talking about that, though, I got the lovely cover from Emma Vicelli on mine.
You did. She spoiled you.
She did spoil me.
Yes.
And I was very
You were spoiled.
I was very spoiled.
So, overall opinion of Thought Bubble going in, is it what you thought it was going to be?
I don't know what I thought it was going to be.
We talked about it as we drove.
Did we?
Jesus.
It's been
Continuation isn't brilliant, is it?
I've slept a lot since then. There's been wine in my life. What did I say? Did I say it was going to be like an MCM?
I suppose.
Yeah, did I say
remember.
that? Oh, you can't remember either.
Well,
So
I know
why
what
are you
I
telling-
said. I'm not going to remember what you said.
Well, you should. It's what your job is to remember what I say. I can't remember what I said. It was nothing like I was expecting. Like you say, it was overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It was brilliant to have everyone in one place.
Yeah.
So that was really, really lovely. And we got to meet so many more people. So my little comic family has expanded. Yes, they're all family now. But I don't know. I found it tiring. It was scary in some ways.
Is that because of the size?
Yeah, I think so. I think
it's like going from Kendal to Manchester.
Yeah, I'm just
From a
too
small
old to
town
cope
to a
with
big
it now. It's the big city of comic things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to call it. Is it a convention?
Well,
or is it like a marketplace almost?
Yeah, well, that's what a convention is.
A
what
market.
it is, it's a proper convention.
Yeah.
But it's a convention for small press creators rather than people selling
Funko Pops. Though I did find some.
You're allowed some, just not too many.
So in that way, it's an amazing hub of all things under one roof, isn't it? So it's like the Toys R Us of comics without going bust.
We spoke to Joe. He said the Lakes he'd sold more than he ever had before, but Thought Bubble destroyed that figure.
Yeah.
As well, and it shows because the amount of people.
Yeah, but you're also targeting, because it's quite expensive to go in. You're targeting people who want to go in and buy comics. That's the thing. So I think as long as you're, I don't know, because you're only getting that one type
You've got
of
that
person.
market, yeah.
You
well,
get.
If it's only a couple of quid, you'd get everybody, and a bit of a very big mix. Whereas it's just comic.
Yeah, it's comic
lovers of whatever type they are.
Yeah, because like I say, it is expensive to go into. Then you are just getting them. Which fair play to them. It works for them.
Well, that's it. I mean,
it wouldn't work for me selling stuff because I need the mums.
No, I disagree there.
I see. I'm a family.
You've never sold anywhere like that.
No, and I'm not sure I want to. It's a bit scary. I'd have to be next to Corey or Joe, or both, one each side.
See, I think yours would do well there.
Do you think?
Yeah. Because
all right, then don't sit me next to Joe because people would compare mine to Joe's and it was like doesn't stand up next to his.
You've only ever sold at
little ones.
Even Oldham, it's free, so you've got a mix. You've not just got the pure.
That's true. I don't
comic lovers there, where people go to Thought Bubble from wherever for that reason. People don't go to Oldham for that. They're local people.
Yeah.
Macclesfield, they're local people.
Yeah.
The Lakes, you've not actually properly done as far as selling goes.
No, I've only done an afternoon.
Whereas Thought Bubble is a bit like an MCM. They're going for a purpose.
Yeah.
Which you've never done
one
like that, really.
No, because that's far too scary.
Well, I think you should try it sometime.
That's a lovely thought of yours.
If not next year, the year after.
Again, lovely thought. Yeah. We'll see.
Why not?
See how my career is going.
I love that career.
Shut up.
Comic career.
What?
Well, it might be.
Well, that and my illustrations. I'm doing all right.
You are. Not knocking you.
Thank you very much.
That's all right.
I can still kick you
Let's
from
steer
here.
this shit back on. So my thoughts. I think obviously I'd heard about how Leeds was, and when they said it was going to be in one hall, I think it is what I thought it was going to be.
Oh, right, okay.
But just
huge,
a lot bigger. A lot bigger. And it really did sort of knock it out of me a bit. And say I wanted to get interviews, and I just didn't feel... I don't know.
Because it was so fast.
You also don't want to disturb people too much, because there is that many people wanting to buy.
Yeah, they're buying and stuff. You can't really disturb them.
You don't want to knock them at all.
No.
I think we need to do it again.
All right.
Knowing what we're going to see.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
I had walking boots on. It was fine.
But now we know what it is about.
Yeah.
You can plan and prep your mind and get yourself ready for it.
Yeah, because it's like any of these things where you get a load of people together, then it zaps your own energies.
You sound zapped by you talking.
I can't help it. I knew I wasn't going to be able to talk all the time because my voice is just going. You've shown no sympathy towards me, so bugger off. So yeah, it zaps your energy and it can make you tired just because of the space it is and the amount of people in it. It's just nature of the beast.
We got absolutely shed loads of books to read from the lakes and from this.
Yeah.
Pete from Comic House in particular.
He just gave us one of everything.
Huge stack to read, so we'll be reading through them slowly and reviewing as we go on. I'll probably do a batch review of their books. A lot of them are anthologies.
Yeah.
We bought a few, and I can't remember the names of the people, so we'll go through them when we get them. And I think next episode we need to do a bump what we've read.
We've read. Oh yeah, because I read that other one as well that I went and bought.
A lot to talk about. So I think next episode we'll look at all them.
Yeah.
And get those out onto the World Wide Web.
Onto the worldy wider webby.
So we're coming up towards the end of the year.
We are.
We usually do a review of the year.
Oh no, we can't do that again, have we? Oh no, if I got to choose my book of the year.
So next week, next episode I should say, we'll have a big old review session.
I know what my book of the year is.
Then we'll have review of the year. You can't say that now.
No one heard.
For Book of Foxes and The Guardian as one of their possible top books of the year.
So it should be.
Just saying.
Yeah, well, me and The Guardian, very similar ideas on this one.
And then we get back into the routine again. 15th of January, getting some guests. We've already got some guests lined up.
Ooh.
Getting ready to guestify it.
Guestify it? Is that even a word?
Yes. Gloria Guestafan.
Please tell me that's what we're singing for the Christmas one.
We're not singing anything. No one.
Mariah Carey.
Can we just quickly as well mention Little Heroes Comics?
Yes.
Who have got a advent calendar of comics started today, 1st of December, as we record this and release this, because it is now officially Christmas, not last weekend.
Yay! Advent!
So...
more stuff to put up in the house.
It's a contribution of however much you want to get free comics every day. Kids comics.
Who doesn't want free kids comics every day?
So have a look at littleheroeswebsite.com.
And if you still need to buy any Christmas cards, I don't know, my Christmas cards on there.
Yeah, yes.
It's lovely if you like penguins and cute penguins at that. Penguins don't make that sound. And then head along to their website and buy my card. All your friends and family would love it.
And can we also give a quick shout out to your brand new website, which has been amazingly put together?
Yes, by someone.
Don't know who.
Yeah.
Watercolourbynicole.com is
That'd be me.
surely coming togetger.
It is. You can find everything that I do there.
Everything.
Well, everything. And things that I can do.
And I'm going to say this now because then we can put it out a possible weekly sort of web comic style thing.
Thanks. Because, I've designed that other badge I'm supposed to be doing as well. Yes. I've got ideas. Well, I had ideas. I can't remember.
No.
Was it Ramblings of a 40-year-old or something? 40-something.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. I can ramble.
But this has sort of been taken from things other people have been doing that we've seen and ideas and a way of getting traffic to a site, essentially, is what it's all about.
Basically is what I'm doing. I'm just signposting myself for myself. But that's fine because I'm getting there slowly. I've had a few more commissions, and it's all just starting to trot along now. Just getting there. Slowly. I've got one more commission to do this week.
In fact, you can officially announce that you're doing a book as well.
I'm illustrating a book. yeah, I mean, I haven't had the brief yet, but 4 or 5 illustrations in a young adults book being written here. It's a local author
in this
house, in this studio. And they saw my little card, my little business card up at Sainsbury's. Thank you to all the Sainsbury's cashiers for moving my card to the front every time.
Other supermarkets are available.
They're not. I need to stay in a job until this one takes off. And this publisher saw it in there and contacted me, and now I'm drawing for them. So it's weird how life works.
It is. Life works
in
mysterious ways.
It does work in mysterious ways. So yeah,
mysterious.
That'll be start of next year, I reckon. I'll be starting to get to work on that.
Right, so anybody, as we're talking about next year, if you've got any ideas of guests that you'd like to hear us chat to, let us know, and we'll do our best. We've already had one turn down.
One turned us down.
You know who?
Who?
The book you read recently, and I've forgotten the name of the
illustrator. He did.
He turned us down.
How dare they turn us down?
Do they not know who we are?
I'm not reviewing that book now.
They're chatting to the Guardian and other places. We're far more important than those big, snazzy
just because we can't give them an award. Well, I could have made something out of foil.
We can make awards.
I can make an award.
We'll still talk about their book, though, next time.
Yeah, because it's absolutely amazing. So, I can't really.
But no, if there's anyone you want to hear, then let us know, because we can give it a go.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't they want to talk to me?
It is you, because I just sit here quiet, because it's like far too embarrassing for me to ask any questions. I can't do it.
Why?
Because I would just ask the wrong thing.
Like what?
I don't know. I'd be like, oh, what was your first pet called? I mean, I would go off on a tangent.
And people may prefer that. We want to know what John Wagner's first pet was called now.
I do now. I mean, it's called Spot.
Not Dread or...
Rob.
No, okay. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. We're back next episode, and I
might be better by then.
You might be.
I'll have another disease.
She'll be whinging in whatever way she can.
Yeah, I will. Well, I'll get no sympathy for you. I might as well try and get it off everyone else.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back. You
can't even speak now. It's because you're getting old.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back on the 15th of December. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Find out more about the festival at comicartfestival.com. Find out more about the show and how to contact us at comicartpodcast.uk. Find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Music composed by Pop Noir.
This podcast is part of Britpod Scene, an independent network of uniquely British podcasts that's always growing. Check out BritpodScene.com or Britpod Scene on Twitter to find out more.